Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about brand new addition to Model Concept Champions, which are these dual class crystals, which cost exactly the same amount of units as a basic crystal, but gives you a lot more control over the champions you pull and the classes you pull. And I think one thing that does not get talked about enough, why this addition is extremely helpful for many younger summoners, newer summoners, maybe not quite as deep in endgame content as some of other ones, is the fact that each class has a couple of characteristic abilities that they excel. For instance, we all know that typically if you want a good buff control and if you want a good power control, then the chances are they are going to be the mystic champions that you're going to be looking at. For instance, if you want strong bleed abilities, or quite frequently also abilities to shrug off debuffs, then that would be the skill class you're taking your glances upon. Huge special attacks and bleed often can be also the mutant class, so on and so forth. Many buffs and many debuffs typically is characteristic to cosmic class, and so on and so forth. So every class kind of has a couple of these things that they're very good at, and for younger summoners it's extremely relevant to cover as many holes as they can possibly in their roster, and therefore this crystal is going to be extremely beneficial. You might not be able to target exactly the champion that you are looking for, but you will be able to get the ability set that you might have been lacking. And before we get any further in today's video, I definitely want to make sure that this is going to be kind of like an overall discussion of my personal evaluation, which of these crystals has objectively more great champions in them, and therefore these are going to be my personal recommendations. In a blank state scenario, which class crystal is the best, but it is important to keep in mind that the right choice, the choice for your account, the choice that you should make, whether you want to go for these crystals period, and if you do, then which class crystal you're going to be hunting for, always 100% depends on what your account already has, and it also depends on your future goals, whether you want to explore Act 6, whether you need some specific kind of like ability sets covering, whether you're just looking for a decent good rank up option, which classes you have more good champions of, which champions you have already, which champions you personally enjoy playing, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of deciding factors, and the things that I can talk about is just kind of like objective blank state scenarios, but it's never the case. If you are relatively experienced summoner, if you have relatively well established roster, you know best what's needed for your account, you know best which champions you are missing, and you know best which one of these crystals can potentially provide you with the biggest benefit. Right, all those things being said, we're going to go through crystal by crystal, what we can find in each and every single one of them, and which I personally think are the better crystals. Right, so obviously they're split in three classes. We have mutant and skill, science and mystic, and cosmic and tech. Right, every single one of these crystals costs 10,000 5-star shards, and every single one of these crystals is useful, great. All of them have good champions. But purely kind of like based on my top 5 videos where I also ranked class strength, I emphasize that I personally believe skill, I personally believe tech and cosmic classes to be relatively more shallow when it comes to the champions I personally would consider quote-unquote rank worthy, or I don't know, awakening gem worthy, which is going to be another video that's going to be coming on the channel shortly. Which is going to be champions I would consider taking to rank 3 as 6 stars, and champions I would consider giving class and generic awakening gems as 6 stars. Anyways, so for now, for this video, as I said, I personally find the cosmic and tech crystal the worst one of them all, because tech class is kind of infamous with the amount of crappy dud champions in them. We have Red Skull, we have Green Goblin, we have Vulture, we have Punisher 2099, which is getting a rework, so that might change. We have Yondu, we have Howard the Duck, Civil Warrior, Iron Patriot, Rocket Raccoon, Iron Man. So that crystal is full with meme tiers and relatively mediocre champions from Tech class. Additionally, Cosmic class is an extremely large class. There are a lot of champions in Cosmic class, and in its all reality, I only kind of like value 3 to 4 Cosmic champions as champions I would personally want to max out in current day and age. Many people are under the misconception that Cosmic class is extremely stacked. Realistically, there is Hyperion, there's Corvus, and there's Captain Marvel movie version, with kind of honorable mentions going out to Medusa and Venom. And then there is a whole bunch of fun, cool, reasonable, but middle of the pack champions. I don't know, like Silver Surfer, like Vision Arcus, Cal Obsidian, Annihilus, Venom the Duck, Proxima. All of these champions are not bad. There are things that they can do, but they're not objectively anyone's first choice of an ideal rank up. And since Cosmic class is so big and there are so many bad champions, including with all of the amount of memes that come from Tech class, this is the first crystal I would personally try to keep away from. I don't think this crystal is quite worth the gamble compared to the other 2 crystals, but obviously keep in mind that these crystals do have Corvus, Hyperion, Ghost, Guillotine 2099 and Warlock in them, and that also means that there are some really big values, but in my opinion this crystal is the biggest gamble because it also has the biggest amount of bad champions in it. So for my units, if I were not specifically trying to acquire, let's say, Ghost, if Ghost is my missing I don't know, golden fruit or whatever, then I definitely try and keep away from Cosmic and Tech crystal by comparison. And now we need to talk about Mutant and Skill crystal, which I think overall is the second worst. Now, Mutant class objectively is the class that's most stacked with good champions. Mutant class might not be the best class in my opinion. I think it is lagging behind a Science class, because Science class champions, if they're great, they're really great. Mutant class has a lot of absolutely fantastic champions, but they do not have Ghost, or they do not have Quake. They do not have a champion that completely kind of like flagships the class for them. They have the Omega, they have Sunspot, they have Domino, they have Namor, they have Havoc, they have many great champions, but the total bar is not quite as high as Tech or Science class. But that being said, obviously Mutant class is one of the best ones to aim for, because there's Colossus and there's objectively a large amount of great champions and not too many complete kind of like memes and failed pulls, especially considering that both Magnetos are about to get revamped, so that even further will increase the amount of good mutant champions. However, Mutant class is obviously not the problem there. Skill class is arguably pretty much the weakest class, because outside of Aegon and outside of Nick Fury, every single skill champion doesn't quite measure up to the top of the game. Again, yes, they have champions like Stealth Suit Spider-Man, they have Blade, they have Night Rusher, they have some other great champions, but then you cannot realistically, for instance, put Night Rusher or Stealth Suit Spider-Man, which would arguably be the third best skill champion, in the same kind of like category with third best mutant champion, right? Because the classes clearly have very solid top 2 options, and everything below that top 2 is significantly lagging behind. And I'm not trying to have a go at Stealth Suit Spider-Man. I like the character. I have him at rank 5, so is Night Rusher, so on and so forth. But objectively, skill class is led by 2 names and 2 names only, which is Nick Fury and Aegon, and everything else lags behind quite considerably. And even further than that, there are so many just awful champions. You have your Ancient Venoms, Falcons, Black Panthers, Karnaks, Kingpins, I don't know, so many Medicore champions that have no real claim to your catalysts and resources these days. So largely because of how bad skill class is, that crystal is let down, and that crystal fails to get kind of like the first, best, most desirable crystal spot. And that leads us to Science and Mystic Dual Crystal, which in my opinion is by far the best one. The reason why it is the best one, because also Science and Mystic classes, as displayed here, have relatively smaller amount of champions in the class period. Therefore, the percentage of your chance to target a specific champion is higher. If you take a look, mutants have like 2 more champions than, let's say, Science class have, and Skill has another 4 or 5. So it means in total, in that first crystal, we have 7 more champions, and pretty much the same story here with Cosmic and Tech classes. So this crystal has the least amount of champions in it. Therefore, you have the highest chance of pulling a specific champion out of all 3 crystals. So that is first and foremost extremely important trait. Second of all, Science class, in my opinion, is overall the best class in game with the amount of good to great champions. You have Fantastic Four, and every single one of them has a lot of good abilities, especially excelling in Think and Human Torch, which are on top of many people's desired lists. You have Wasp, which is criminally underrated champion and obviously part of Ghost Trinity team. Then we have Captain America Infinity War. Then we have Gladiator Hulk, we have Void, we have Quake, Red Hulk, She-Hulk, Luke Cage, Spider-Gwen, all absolutely amazing champions. Yes, there are some fair amount of dots, but again, keep in mind that you have higher chance to pull all of those great ones. And now we have Mystic class, and again, Mystic class has been getting so many strong additions to it in recent times that it's become one of the better class, definitely in the top half. Maybe Mystic class is not quite yet as stacked as Science and Mutant classes are, but it's not far behind anymore, and it's definitely well in front of Tech, Skill, and Cosmic class. Now, Sorcerer Supreme, you have Mojo, Longshot, Doctor Doom, Man-Thing, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Symbiote Supreme, Morningstar, Mephisto, Dormammu, Hood, Dr. Voodoo, Ghost Rider, Magic. All of these, well, most of these are definitely still top tier kind of options with a lot of use in any and every single piece of content. And again, that covers more than half of the class champions, because Mystic class was very, very small class up until very recently when Kabam is going completely overboard, and I think we're getting like 6 Mystic champions this year. Up until this year, Mystic class was quite significantly under staffed, I don't know, under champion. There were not too many Mystic champions, and that means that there are not too many older Mystic champions. It means that most of the Mystic champions that you will be looking at and pulling are relatively recent champions compared to every single other class. And again, typically champion from 2019, 2020 is going to be significantly better than champions from 2015, 2016. All that being put together, I personally believe that objectively, Science and Mystic Crystal has by far the most amount of value for 10,000 shards. Not just because I believe those are 2 of the strongest classes, but also because they have the least amount of champions in those crystals, the least amount of old champions in those crystals, and by extension you have highest chance of acquiring a recent champion from Science and Mystic Crystal. You also have the highest chance of targeting any single specific champion in that crystal. So on a blank slate scenario, which remember, your account is not, and you need to be able to make a judgment call for yourself of what you need for your account the most. But in a blank state scenario, in complete vacuum, Science and Mystic Crystal is by far the best one to go for, in my opinion. And that is the conclusion of today's video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya!